You used to rely on investors to make your films. Now you don't, and we'd love to know the economics of what you did when you had investors and now what you do as a self-financier.
Um, I would say that now I make less financial mistakes. When I worked with investors, I knew enough to know that I was always going to need a reserve, right? So whenever I spoke to someone about the budget, I always said, make sure we also have, this much in reserve. And I wrote the script, and more often than not, I would have to use that reserve. And you would often find that you're using that reserve in post-production because more of the money got used in production than you thought would have been. As I've now begun to do it myself, I budget actually over what I would actually need. And I try to save as I go along, as opposed to working backwards where you budget just enough and then I was like, oh, this costs more than I thought it would. Or, maybe we missed a day and then we have to add another day to production. Or, you don't realize the problems you're going to have until you start having them. And that was what I was going through during the period of time of having investors. So now I think I make less financial stakes, less budgetary mistakes and scheduling mistakes now that I'm financing it myself. And it's mainly just because I have the experience.
And how are you able to save? Because you know how different things can happen. There can be rain and you have to shut it down for the afternoon, different things.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things you've learned can help actually save on production?
We always have, you have the schedule as it's supposed to be, but then we know that if we have days where weather impacts shooting, then we have like a safe shoot. So we always know, okay, these are the things we're going to shoot. But if on any one of these days, rain is not permitting or something happens out on the road or whatnot, we can go back and we can shoot this inside. And that way you don't lose any days. You're just moving things around in the schedule. I think that I think about this day and it's just, I'm like, how could I be so crazy? We were shooting Axeman actually. And one of the days the executive producer showed up and for whatever reason, he came in, we were shooting one scene inside and then we were supposed to be shooting something else outside and then it just started pouring rain. And so we came in and we all sat down and we just waited for the rain to stop. Hours, we waited for the rain to stop. Instead of shooting anything else, we were actually shooting something indoors already. And then we stopped shooting that because that was over. And then we decided to shoot outside. When we couldn't shoot outside, we didn't shoot anything. And it was a completely lost day. Like, I want to say 4 hours of not shooting when we could have been shooting any number of scenes inside. And that was one of the biggest takeaways from that is once I thought about it, I was like, I am nuts for allowing that to happen. We should have moved on and shot something else. So I learned a lot of things early on that I carried over into, the ones that I executive produce now as well. And so that's all the lessons. I've told you, every time something happens, you have to learn that lesson and carry that lesson forward. And that was one of the ones that, I certainly learned. So I always have backups for, exterior shoots.
So even if you have to shoot something out of order, then as long as just keep everybody there and keep it rolling. Kind of thing.
Yeah. The only film where that would have been tough was the one I just finished shooting, WANTON. That one, we had the complexity of the beard because his beard was either there or not there. And so everything with the beard had to be shot, together. So you couldn't jump the line and go shoot something else because he's not supposed to have a beard. So, that was the only one that presented an issue.